All right, what's going on, everyone? And welcome into the TSF GamePlan show. My name is Safwan Alvi. I will be your host, and I am joined, as always, by my partner, the TriState football writer himself, the writer of the best bets. Again, my partner and friend, Brandon Lampley. And again, we are representing TriStateFootball.com. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We're talking week 4 here in the Tri-State area. 3 weeks have passed. Can't even believe it. We're going to get you ready for week 4. Some big matchups going all around the Tri-State area, ECC, GMC, some Northern Kentucky action, and even some CHL action to discuss. So, Brandon, I'm looking forward to this. And again, appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram at TS Football. Again, that's at TS Football. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can listen to us, our coaches' interviews, pregame and postgame show. So, Brandon, I'm about ready to get right into it. It's talking about our first matchup of week 4. Again, kickoff is just about 48 hours away, so we're going to talk all things in the tri-state area. Starting off with Lakota West versus Princeton. All right, this is a matchup, GMC matchup, that's turned into a bit of a really fun rivalry over the past couple of years. Remember, Princeton won the GMC a couple of years ago, 2023, if I'm not mistaken. These two teams, they're playing well. 2-1 on the year after losing their first game, Lakota West to St. X in week 1, and then Princeton to Moeller, right? So both teams were victims of GCL South play early in the season. This game is going to be at Lakota West. It's going to be homecoming for Lakota West, so a lot of their people are excited. So, Brandon, tell me what you're looking forward to in this matchup of GMC Kings, I should say.
Well, yeah, this is going to be a very big one. This game has pretty much decided the league for the last couple of years. The winner of this game, really has a leg up on them and the rest of the league for a league champion. So, as I look at Princeton, I'm looking for the Loris Barnes to Landon Myrie connection. I feel like for this game, Landon Myrie, he really needs to be a big factor. I'm talking 8 to 9 catches. I'm talking 2 touchdowns. I think they need a big performance out of him for them to stay in the ball game and kind of make this a game. Princeton, as you mentioned, that first loss to Moeller, got their feet back under them, but if we're gonna, be honest, not the greatest of competition the last couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? Kind of the bottom of the GMC that they whooped up on, and they made sure to dominate those games. But this is a definite, step up in competition here. And, for Lakota West, I'm looking at Norman out of the backfield. I'm looking at Tyson Davis as a wide receiver. A lot of skilled players on the perimeter for Lakota West. Cam Thomas and Derek Edwards on that defense. I think it's going to be tough for Princeton. And I would choose Lakota West to get a comfortable win in this one.
Yeah, as you were mentioning, Princeton with their back-to-back wins, they beat Coleraine in week 2, and then they beat Sycamore in week 3. Again, both teams are struggling to win games right now. They have won 79-2 in that span. And again, for Princeton, this is, their first real test going against Lakota West, who has an excellent defense. The Firebirds also dominant in back-to-back wins. They put up 35 points in each of those wins. And the big thing, Brandon, is Jackson Smith. Right, he is kind of what makes this offense go. 498 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions over the last 2 weeks. And how about Tyson Davis, right? 7 receptions, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns in week 2. And then he had 9 receptions, 180 yards, and a touchdown last week. And this has been the story for Lakota West, right? If they can find a semblance of a consistent offense that can get you anywhere between, 15 to 25 points a game, depending on who they're playing, this is a team that can make it, all the way to the Final Four, right? They can make it to the regional championship. They can make it to the state semifinals if their offense, can get in line with the defense. And again, they're getting hot right now. They're playing better. Defensively, they're stout, right? Cam Johnson, all these guys. Tom Bolden has his teams humming. And I agree. I think this is Lakota West, as we mentioned, homecoming. They're going to play well on defense. Princeton can't turn the ball over, right? They just simply cannot turn the ball over if they want to win this game. which is hard to do against a defense that swarms like Lakota West does. They have a lot of players to like on that defensive backfield and in the front seven. But I do think Lakota West does win this game. But again, this has been a fun rivalry, right? These past couple of years, they've actually traded off wins, right? Princeton's won some games. Dakota West has won some games. Again, it's going to be fun over there in Westchester on Friday night. I do want to transition now, Brandon, over to some Northern Kentucky football, right? Because we have a number 25 team, right? We have a matchup and a non-matchup. Beechwood taking on Simon Kenton, right? This game is going to be at Beechwood. When looking at these teams, I noticed that both of them have played Dixie Heights, right? That's kind of the common denominator for both of these teams. Simon Kenton beat them 20-10, and then Beechwood beat them 48-7, right? So that's a common denominator. But it's going to be hard, for being honest, for Simon Kenton, right? They're looking to bounce back. They lost 15-62 against Covington Catholic last week. So how are they going to respond? Does that loss linger, right? Do we see a better effort? But no matter what, Brandon, it's going to be an uphill battle to beat the Tigers.
Uphill battle. I mean, Simon Kitten, the Pioneers, they got a sophomore quarterback in Grant Webb, still trying to, learn the ins and outs of the varsity game. And I think we saw that a lot last week against Cov Calf and kind of that jump up in competition. He's still been performing well as a young player. And I think he'll do better this week against Beechwood. But it's just going to be uphill battle, learning experience for Mr. Webb there at the quarterback position. I really like Grayson Harris for Simon Kenton. Does it on both sides of the ball. Two-way guy, offensively and defensively. But again, a big step up here in competition again. Reigning two-way champion down there in Beechwood. They did lose a lot, but this is a big test for some young players at Simon Kenton. And when you look at Beechwood, I really look at Tyler Fryman, a guy we've talked about for several years now, been playing the varsity game for 2 and 3 years. Great wide receiver, great on the in the secondary, just a very good athlete. I believe he's committed to the University of Louisville to play baseball, but he just got an offer from Notre Dame to play football, so he's got some decisions to make there. But he's a great athlete. Emmett Queen, new quarterback. He stepped in and filled in well. I like Beechwood in a big win at home.
Yeah, Class 2A has run through Beechwood for as long as anybody can remember, right? They're just winning championships left and right. As you mentioned, the reigning Class 2A state champions. Simon Kenton, I think they started this year well, right? Beating Dixie Heights like the way they did. And I think they'll reel off a couple more games. I think they have the offensive firepower to do so. But they're running into a couple juggernauts in a row. Just the schedule is just daunting. Playing Covington Catholic and playing Beechwood, two of the best in Northern Kentucky that has to offer, in the past 5, 10, even longer than that. So again, I do look for Beechwood to win this game pretty handily, but I also do think Simon Kenton could reel off some more wins as the season goes on. I want to jump right back now, Brandon, into Ohio. A little CHL matchup, right? This is another game that has, quietly been a very fun rivalry over the past handful of years. I'm talking Indian Hill versus Wyoming, right? This game is going to be at Wyoming. The Cowboys are 3-0 so far, but it's been far from easy, right? This is not, your normal Wyoming that's winning 35-0, 42-0. And two of those three wins, Brandon, it was 24-21 week one against Ross, and it was 34-27 last week against Monroe. Tell me what you're seeing from this Wyoming team. At the end of the day, they are undefeated, but they're not cruising, right? This is a team that is fighting every single week, and we know that they are very young in a lot of their skill positions as well.
Not cruising, and I think we're seeing the coaching ability of Aaron Hancock really rise to the top as they're able to win games. He's built a winning culture there. Those kids expect to win no matter the score. I believe week one they were down 2 or 3 scores, fall back in the fourth quarter to win. He's got a culture that they believe they should win. They're never out of the game. And although they have some young players, they do still have some very good players. Quarterback David Dupe, he's been throwing the ball well. Braylon Miltonberger on both sides of the ball. Jackson Hamilton, great defensive player. Um, so they still got some talent out there, and I believe Coach Hancock is really just bringing those young guys together. And again, they believe they should win every game. And for Indian Hill, we always talk about Devlin Daniel on the offensive side of the ball. But two guys that have been standing out on defense, Dylan Hartman, 5 interceptions already, and Brady Drost, 3 interceptions already. They really been shutting down opposing passing games and getting Devlin Daniel back on the field more, which you want on the offensive side of the ball. More opportunities where he can make a play with his legs or throwing the ball. Uh, this one, this is a toss up to me. I'm going to take Wyoming simply because they're at home, but this one could go either way.
Yeah, I agree. Indian Hills, they've had 3 dominant wins, right? As we mentioned, they haven't had much, contest over the past first couple of weeks. They've scored 30 points in every single game, and they haven't yet allowed 14. And when you have Devlin Daniel, who's going to be the best football player on the field, I think that bodes well for Indian Hill, right? When you have a guy that can take over a game, but like we mentioned, right, head coach Rodenberg has done a great job over there at Indian Hill. 2 excellent coaches, 2 winning coaches. This could be the most interesting and fun game of the weekend, right? Because when we talk about Beechwood and Simon Kenton and Lakota West Princeton, we think those games could get out of hand. Again, we hope it's a close game, but those games could get out of hand. But Indian Hill, Wyoming, Brandon, this could be an overtime type of game. This could be a 38-35 thriller, remember for years type of game. And I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, like I said, could go either way. It's really hard for me to pick one on this, but I just going with the home team.
Yep, Wyoming. Yes, when you're playing Wyoming at on the road, it's tough to win, and they've won. I can't remember. It's like 293 of 294 as
Yeah.
its home games. It's some number like that, and they've won so many consecutive road games. It's just a program that wins, right? The Wyoming Cowboys and head coach Aaron Hancock, they win and they do it consistently. All right, Brandon. I do want to transition to the ECC, right? And I wanted to save maybe the best for last, right? The Indian Hill Wyoming game may be the most interesting game, but when we're talking firepower and another top 20 ranked matchup, how about number 20 Lebanon against number 3 Anderson? This game is going to be at Anderson. Um, the reason I say this is because Lebanon is 3-0, right? How about the undefeated Warriors? Not many people expected that. The win against West Claremont, right? It was our Blitz 5 top 25 matchup. The whole crew was over there at that game, and everybody was having fun and everybody was excited. The Warriors, they're undefeated, Brandon, and they're led by their defense, right? They're only giving up 14.6 points per game over the first 3 games. Obviously, Luke Failer had a great game against West Claremont, and he's been good all year. Had 5 touchdown passes last week. But tell me what you're seeing with this Lebanon team, and we know the gauntlet that they're up against, over there in Anderson on the east side.
Lebanon being a very tough-minded, physical team to start the season, and yeah, like you said, a surprise. I guess that they're 3-0. Haven't had the best of seasons as of late, but I mean they're playing good football, and the West Claremont win opened my eyes a little bit, and not so much that they won, but the way that they won in a convincing fashion, being able to shut down the running game of West Claremont, which is their bread and butter. That was a little eye opening, and it just showed me a lot of them, really. So I'm curious about, this week. You kind of get into that feeling like, are they a for real team, or, how, are they just getting by the first 3 weeks? And no better way to find out where you are on the measuring stick than playing this way, playing Anderson on the road. And we know about Anderson, juggernaut offensive team, and quietly a juggernaut defensive team over the last year and couple games so far this year. Brady Kuhn, Antoine Higgins, Ace Austin, those guys on defense fly around, they shut you down, and then when you got an offense that's going up and down the field like, fast break in a basketball game, it's a hard thing to deal with. So um, I got Anderson. I mean, I say all that to say I got Anderson, and just the way they've looked, I just can't see how it's close.
Yeah. And for Lebanon, my takeaway from this game, for it to be positive for them, ideally, perfect world, they win the game. But we know that is going to be a very, very hard thing to do. But if they come out of this game scoring a couple touchdowns, maybe if they force a turnover or two, right, they pick off Owen Scoff, the quarterback, and you play a game that Anderson maybe has a tough time, you force some turnovers, you score some touchdowns, I think that's a win for Lebanon. Again, it's hard to, these guys aren't going to tell you that they're believing moral victories and, they're okay with, losing 41-14 or something like that. But if Lebanon can leave this game with some positive notes, with some touchdowns, maybe with a turnover, maybe you played well on special teams, I think that's a win for them. Playing a team against Anderson who has a chance to go back to the state championship game, if you kind of execute the way Lebanon has these first couple weeks, stopping the run game, Landon Young right over there at West Claremont, they basically shut him down completely. If you can take away some positive notes, even on, a loss, Brandon, I think that could be considered almost a moral victory or something you can take forward the rest of the season.
You're correct about that. It is a daunting task. I mean, 50 points a game, that's, it's crazy. And you kind of come into games and you think maybe if we can get them around 35, maybe we can have a chance. But I mean, that's a lot of points. It's just a lot of points to play catch up with. And it makes the mistakes or the turnovers, the punts, it makes those just so valuable, because I'm losing an opportunity to score when this team is scoring essentially at will. And they
Yeah.
don't punt, by the way.
And they're playing a lot of their backups a lot of the game, right? Little Miami, they played him yesterday. I don't believe Owen Scoff played the entire fourth quarter or maybe even majority of the second half. So these numbers are going to be insane, and they're running clocking people. We'll see if that's the case in this game or not. And again, you said average, they're averaging 50. It's just reading this is just mind boggling. They're averaging 50 and they're only allowing 8 points a game. They can beat you anyway, right? If you want a defensive game, they can beat you that way. If you want an offensive game, they can beat you that way. It's a really dominant team so far. And Brandon, what I saw about this Anderson team, I was looking at some of the ECC stats and kind of what's going on in that conference. They're the only team in the ECC that has a player in the top 5 of each major category, right? When we're talking sacks, when we're talking passing yards, right? There is an Anderson player in every single category, right? Owen Scoff is leading the ECC in passing yards, and they got other guys as well in the top 5 of conference, right? Where we're talking sacks, things like that. Looking up the statistics, here it is. I have it in front of me. So, yep, rushing yards. Jordan Davis is top 5 in rushing yards for Anderson. In receiving yards, Tegan Jalik is top 5. And then when looking on the defensive side of the ball, as you mentioned, Brady Kuhn is top 5 in tackles with 26, right? And then Brady Kuhn is also, again, top 5 in sacks. So he's been a monster this year on defense. And then they also have Ace Austin, who you mentioned earlier about being a game breaker. They're the only team in the ECC that there's an Anderson at the top of this leaderboard in stats in every single category, right? Even if it's the same guy, that goes to show how superstars change games. And Brandon, it seems like Anderson has a bunch of them, and that's why they're 3-0 and top 3 in the rankings.
Yeah, a lot of talent, a lot of high major talent, guys that are going to play big time college football in a couple years. Some of them are underclassmen, believe it or not. They got another year of high school, but just talent all over the board. So it's going to be a tough task for not only Lebanon, but, the rest of the 7 teams or 6 teams left in the regular season and the playoffs to, have a chance.
Absolutely. And again, that's a lot of their best bets. And you can go to TriStateFootball.com and read Brandon's best bets. And before we get out of here, I do want to talk about some rapid fire picks, right? That's what we've been doing, reeling off about 5 to 7 games, talking about who you think is going to win that game. So let's start in Ohio, Brandon, then we'll go to Northern Kentucky, another ranked ECC matchup. Number 8 Kings taking on number 24 West Claremont. We just talked about the Wolves a few minutes ago and their loss last week to Lebanon. How are they going to bounce back? Number 8 Kings, number 24, West Claremont. Who do you think wins that game?
Well, the ECC is, it's a bear of a conference. West Claremont, uh, no breaks, each week. And Kings, great team, great coaching with Alex Garvin. I'm a big fan of Grant Nuri, Max Lockwood out of the backfield. I like Kings in this one at home.
Yeah, I'm a believer in Kings. They're a good football team. They beat Winton Woods 16-14 in week 2, right? So it's not a schedule thing. They can play with some of the best teams. They can play with some of the best defenses. I do think Kings wins this game, but I also do think West Claremont runs the ball just a little bit better than what they did last week. I think Landon Young gets a little bit better. I think Kings does win this game, and they might be continuing to climb in those top 25 rankings. Staying one more game in the ECC, number 10 Winton Woods taking on Turpin. Be honest, Brent, I do see a blowout in this game. Turpin, not the best this year. Winton Woods playing with a chip on their shoulder after that week 2 loss. I got Winton Woods winning big in this game. What do you see?
I feel the same way. Winton Woods winning big, a lot of speed on the field. Chad Murphy really gets those guys going. I think they'll be good. They'll be fine for the next couple of weeks. I can't wait to see them and Anderson play. And but this week I take Winton Woods.
Absolutely. I do want to move on to the GMC now for these rapid fire picks. Number 15, Mason, right? They've had a really good year taking on Oak Hills, a sneaky team, right? That may not have a lot of wins at the end of the year, but kind of a thorn in the side type of a team. Mason is going to Oak Hills as well, right? This game is Oak Hills. Possibility for an upset, or you think Mason pulls this off?
I think it's a great possibility. I've been impressed with the defense of Oak Hills. They've been in every game this year. Dog fights. It's tough going over there to the west side. I'm going to go an upset on this one. Highlanders at home.
Yeah, the games that they played, right? They've only given up 14 points twice in 2 losses, and they won at Edgewood 21-20. So I think this has a real upset possibility. I agree with you. I think the defense steps up. They've been good all year. Oak Hills beats Mason, and I think it's an upset. I completely agree with you on that one. That's going to be a fun game.
This will be as physical of a game this week that there's going to be in all of the Tri-State.
Yeah, these are 2 teams, Mason and Oak Hills, that play tough. Remember their game 2 weeks ago, alluding to Mason against Lakota West. It was a 1-possession game in the 4th quarter against Lakota West, right? The final score ended up being 34-13, but in the 4th quarter, it was 13-21. So this Mason team plays hard. I don't expect a team to get to 21 to 24 points in this game. If it does, it means that either Mason or Oak Hills, they really conquered the defense, but I expect this to be a very low-scoring game, and I agree. I'm going with the upset, Oak Hills over Mason. And then how about a ranked matchup in the GMC, number 16 Lakota East versus number 22 Hamilton. John Kitna's crew did lose their first game last week, Brandon, and Hamilton, coming off a loss as well. They're trying to get it together. Each of them have lost a game this season. Where do you see this? Lakota East taking on Hamilton, top 25 matchup.
Hamilton, a lot of young players and inexperienced players, even if they are a senior. And they've been bit by the turnover bug a lot so far this year. I think Lakota East takes this one at home. Just a more physical team. Great running game with Ryder Hooks. Defense has been good enough. I think Lakota East at home.
Yeah, problem with Hamilton is they played 2 really good teams in Baden and Lakota West, and they were thoroughly dominated in that game. In both of those games, they did beat Sycamore, so I think the competition gets a little bit too heavy for Hamilton at times. I think they will get better. I like head coach Arby Crouch, and I think they're going to get better over the season. But I think Lakota East, like you said, Ryder Hooks, I think they do get the win. I think this is an offensive game for Lakota East. I think there's a lot of running the football, 28-31 points. John Kitna's team gets their 3rd win of the season. And I do want to go down to Northern Kentucky because we have a juggernaut hanging out with Northern Kentucky this year. Number 7 Highlands, right in our Blitz 5 top 25. They are taking on Boyle County. And for those not familiar, Boyle County is a power in Kentucky. They have a bunch of state championships, but they've also had some historic losses over the past 2 years, right? Covington Catholic beat them in the playoffs, which stopped a consecutive streak of 3 or 4 consecutive state championships, right? Boyle County, and they also lost to Lexington Catholic, which stopped a regular season winning streak as of late, right? So Boyle County, again, they're winning a bunch of games, but they're also slightly looking human. Do you think Highlands could pull this upset against one of the best schools in Northern Kentucky, or is Boyle County going to be too much for them?
I'm going with the history of Highlands and being a winning program. I like Bob Spire as a football coach. Give me the Bluebirds.
Yeah, this one I am going to be completely biased. I'm sorry. I'm going Highlands. Right. I think Boyle County is a great team, and they're probably going to win multiple playoff games. Bob Spire's got to get it done. If they're giving out historic upsets, give me Highlands, and I think they beat Boyle County. They go to Boyle County and win. Again, that's the Tri-State people talking in us right there. And last one before we get out of here, we're going to talk about.
I'll make that one a high-scoring affair too. I think that'll be a shootout win for Highlands.
Again, don't be surprised if Boyle County wins the game. But hey, if they've lost a couple games, they're not inhuman anymore, right? So they gotta lose. So we're going Highlands in that game. And then the last one I want to talk about, Brandon, before we get out of here, is just that Campbell County versus Cooper game. It was great to see Cooper get back on the winning track last week, right? They had a couple of early losses, but they were playing such a gauntlet of a schedule. Campbell County and Cooper, you think Cooper stays on their winning streak and gets it to 2 in a row?
I'll take Cooper getting the 2 in a row. Campbell County, they've got a couple talented players. Their quarterback, I can't remember his name, Lucas. His first name is Lucas. They got some talented players. They just can't seem to put it all together at the same time, all the time. But yeah, I like Cooper getting back on track, 2 in a row, and maybe trying to rack some up, get some momentum.
Yeah, look out for this Cooper team. And a lot of people might have written them off through 2 weeks, but they're going to keep getting better, and they're going to be a thorn in a lot of team sides as we get later in the season. All right, Brandon, we're about to get out of here. Remember, you can read also the game of the week, right? We have GCL South playing. We got Elder versus LaSalle, another top 10 matchup there. You can check that out at TriStateFootball.com. Brandon and I will be back next Wednesday right here on Facebook and YouTube. You guys can listen to us, again, wherever you get your podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Again, for Brandon Lampley, I'm Safwan Alvi. Thank you guys so much for joining us. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms, and we'll talk to you next week. We appreciate you guys.